You ready?
Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is, excuse me, the Jon Peckman podcast. I'm Jon Peckman. We are at Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance in Portland, Connecticut, just over the bridge. Go over the bridge if you can. Start looking left, and you'll see us. I'm Jon Peckman. I am here with special guest, the one, the only, Mr. Matt Starr. Here he is.
It's good to be here. I've never not been here and not been in the basement.
Oh, well, we'll get to that.
Spent a lot of time down
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Yeah, we should have done that first. So here he is, Matt Starr. Tell us about yourself, and or if you can make the connection to Connecticut Valley somehow. So we get a sense of context.
Yeah, so born and raised Connecticut, and
Okay.
I started teaching here. Well, fell in love with Kiss at age 8.
Sure.
My neighbor Scott Gabala had a Kiss record, Kiss Alive 2. I opened it up. I saw fire, smoke, sparks, dudes that looked like they were having fun. And I said, that looks good. I'll do that.
Sure.
So guidance counselors and teachers and my parents, and they all had other ideas. And I just said, no, I'm just going to do that.
Sure.
So just kind of stuck to it. And then at some point, you got to make some money.
Rumor has it.
Yeah, that's what they say. So,
I got married. That's how I made my money. I don't know about you. But
nice.
No.
So
not
we,
really.
we started playing in bars, and then I started teaching. And I don't know how did I start? I
don't know.
I don't know how that happened, but started teaching here. And
This is the first place you ever taught?
I had done lessons, like private one-offs here and there.
Okay.
But yeah, like a formal thing. And so I knew how to read a little bit, but it was great because as long as I was ahead of the students on the reading, I was good.
Yeah,
So,
right.
So I'd play something and they go, can you write that down? I'm like, I don't know. Let me see. Can I? So I'd start to write boom,
Yeah.
and okay, that's in between, and did that for many years.
Not to interrupt. So where did you learn to read?
I took drum lessons from a drummer named Mike Duquette.
Okay.
Who I got to look him up because I'm sure he's still here, but was a great jazz drummer, and did that for a few months, and he was not teaching me Motley Crue songs, so I was frustrated. And so we took the summer off, and I taught myself how to play Shout at the Devil and
Nice.
Def Leppard Pyromania, and then I thought, well, this is what I want to do, so I'm just going to keep doing that. So, but I did learn how to read from him.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I just kind of pieced it together.
So you didn't take no band music in school?
No, I was
Not
in
your thing?
school band in 6th grade for, I think, 3 weeks. If there's any band teachers out there, please let your drummers give them like 20 minutes to hit everything as hard and as loud as they can.
Yeah, just get it over with.
Because they go, this is the bass drum. Okay, so you'll be here and you'll be on the snare. Okay, now we're going to work on the flutes. And so you got these young boys with all this energy with drumsticks. Don't touch anything. And then, okay, let's do the drum.
Yeah.
Jun, 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 ch.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. All right, let's go on. So, yeah,
Yep.
I didn't want to do that. I wanted to play rock and roll. So,
Totally.
yeah. So
Can I interject with a story?
Yeah.
So I did the same. I played through the school system. I was in junior high. It was pretty chill. My band director was really cool. And then I went to high school, and it's like just what you're saying was the first day of band. I didn't know the band director. There's like risers, and we're in the back, and the percussionist, and it was like that. I didn't know. We're just back there. I'm just back there, tippy, playing, making noise. And apparently, I guess the teacher was talking. But as I'm playing, I just hear this ruckus, like all kinds of noise. And I look up, and he pushed everybody out of the way to get right up to me and go, "Are you playing when I'm talking?" It was so funny. I was like, oh, we're in high school now.
Yeah.
I was like,
that's a decent lesson because, when the guy in the mic is talking, just don't hit the drums.
Right. That's right.
So,
No, you're right. No, but so I know that if he had just let us for the first few minutes,
Right.
it would have worked out. But
Yeah.
I think he made his point. But
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
It's the James Brown of band
Yeah.
directors.
You're just not getting away with anything.
No.
All right. Anyway, so
Yeah, so then taught here for a few years, and then I think it was when I moved to California, and you and I had been
that's right.
up to all kinds of stuff,
Yep.
mostly at night,
Yep.
and then you took over.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I got started here. I'm the drum teacher here at the school. Matt was formerly. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's how it all happened. Yep.
yep. And I bought my first guitar here,
Oh.
an Epiphone Riviera,
Oh, that's cool.
black. It's like a semi-hollow body. I still have it.
When did you how did you get from drums to guitar? When did that happen?
That happened. I was probably about 21, 22. And, you learn an A chord at 15, and then and your guitar player tries to show you a G, and you kind of fake it. And so I said, let me just mess around with this.
Yeah.
And I learned a Cheap Trick song. I think I learned Hello There.
Sure.
And then I said, oh, okay, I
could do this.
I can do this. And I started writing songs, and then that turned into a band called The Flames.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
and we did we played around Hartford, and then we started going into New York, played CBGB's a bunch, started doing like Ramones related events, and these people like Bob Gruen and Danny Fields and Arturo Vega and all these people that I had heard of, they started hanging around. And so we were part of that scene for a while, and had a demo deal with Atlantic, and it never went past that, but that was the kind of trajectory of that band. But it was good. It was cool to, being a big fish in a small pond is a good way to get going. You know? And the Hartford Advocate was really supportive. Mike Marciano used to write about us and come see us, and
India Blue.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. I remember I think I won like best frontman or singer or something.
Sure.
And I show up with these platform shoes and leather pants with stars on the side, and this feathered kind of Paul Stanley-esque thing. And I walked in, and she just smiled, and she goes, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was cool. Photographer, right? Did she write too?
She did do some writing, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because someone actually had posted a review that she had written about us and Toxic Field Mice, which was another band from Rocky Hill, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. Mike Tornio, Mike Bay was the drummer. I don't remember the other guys in the band. They were kind of like a hardcore band.
Sure, that's cool. She died.
She did
way back when, unfortunately.
Yeah,
yeah. Those were kind of the days, in a way. Around here, I suppose the Advocate doesn't exist anymore. Hartford Advocate. There was kind of a scene.
There was, yeah.
Around.
It was Goodnight Hartford, Bar with No Name.
Yep.
Velvet, and then there was a studio called Planet of Sound, which was on top. I think it was on top of the Brickyard.
Yep. Yep.
And
Miles.
Miles, and Miles, and he's who's he with right now? But he was out with the Pixies, and I mean he's and then
Dead Can Dance,
and then Joe Sanborn, who ended up
Yep, that's right,
going over to Telefunken. Now Joe's out in L.A. He's making records, making pedals, and so yeah, there was a community, and then WCCC was really supportive of the local bands. So like Mike Caroli, and they were spinning our records. And then, Joetown, which is in Wallingford, Joe Delaney, friend of ours, where we kind of,
that's where we
got going there. We got into all our minutia that we talk about extensively. Yeah. We're just still talking about the same things. But, Joe had a studio, and the greatest gift that kind of anyone ever gave me was he just said, okay, you can come in here, pay the engineer, and just make a record. I didn't know what any of the gear did. I asked 1,000 questions. Took me like 2 years to understand what a compressor actually did, other than make things sound cool. And so we made a record there. So like Joe was making records. It was Gargantua Soul. Joe. I can't remember. There was
a few more.
Eddie was a singer from one band. It was great.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so like that was sort of the record label.
Yep.
And then there were the gigs around town. Toads, New Haven was great because you could open for national acts. We played the Smithereens and Joan Jett and a bunch of bands like that. In the Webster Theater in Hartford was another one. And so that's those are kind of all the ingredients. And then you had Marciano, who was cool and he understood rock and roll. So you had support. Yep. That's kind of the formula.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are the days, I guess. We sound like old guys, but that was how it was done.
Yeah.
That's how we did it.
Yeah.
did something. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, Joetown back in the day. Of course, this is still 2-inch tape, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trident, B console.
We were lucky. Now that we think back, you go, we're lucky that we got to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Around here.
And I think that, to get in the studio is one thing, but then to have the access to go in there again and again and again and learn.
Yep.
Because there was no, actually, I remember doing vocal takes and I'd sing something, go, that note was flat. Okay, it's, and I'd sing it, no, flat, flat, flat. You learn. You have to, one, out of embarrassment.
Yeah.
You just want to make sure you got it together.
Yep. Yeah, I used to have, at that point, I had a little studio set up at home. So I would do my vocals at home using a foot punch-in pedal. So all you hear if you solo the vocals is like the foot, everything, punch in every line forever, spend all night trying to, get it together. And then, of course, nowadays I'd be like, well, I'd have to go in Pro Tools and edit out all the pedal sounds, but they're all in there.
And then you keep making records and you realize it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
The clicks and the squeaks and the
right.
The change in the pocket jingling. It's all good. Once you put a Marshall in there, you're not going to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. So then what? So you're here, you're teaching, you got the Flames.
Yep. And then the last incarnation of the Flames, a guitar player named Alex Grossi, I found an ad that he had in the paper, and I called him, and he goes, yeah, I'm looking for a band. I was in this band called Angry Salad. We were on Atlantic, so I was like, okay, he had a record deal. I'm like, all right, cool. So he goes, well, where should we meet? And he goes, the Electric Blue, which is a strip bar, I think exit 68.
Sure.
I said Cahoots.
Let's not act like we don't know where it is.
Yeah.
Stop pretending.
Yeah. So right next to the subway. So I said Cahoots, which is in Hartford, but he lived up in Vernon. So he goes, how about Electric Blue? I just got my VIP card there. I go, all right,
perfect. Cool. Yeah.
So he goes, I'll be over at the pool table. I look like Joe Perry. So I was like, all right, I think this is going to probably work out.
That's funny.
So we did about a year together, and Alex was great because he was really like the only other guy I'd met who was as driven as me.
Yeah.
And we would just sit around and just come up with ideas.
Yeah.
And then the next day we'd wake up and put them into action. So we created this guy, Mike Waters. So Mike Waters was our manager. So I was Mike.
Kind of like John Barron, Donald Trump's spokesperson.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you.
And
a fictional person.
So he would be like, hey, I'm going to be out, but you got to call this club at 4. And Mike, last time we talked, Mike said blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, and then, so there you go.
That's how you get things done.
That is how you do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's funny. And this guy just never existed.
Never existed. And Alex just texted me. I can't remember what he did.
That's great.
So
I got to try that.
It's good. It's mind blowing because I would call and rather
like Kaiser Soze.
Yeah. Well, rather than going,
you just missed him. He was just here.
Yeah, I know. Jeez, I go. Yeah, because we had to have to do that. We would go, get to the venue, and I talk to this club owner, and I go, hey, how you doing? I'm Matt, and he go, hi, I'm Dave, and I go, oh right, we have a relationship, but you don't know it's me. So I know this guy. I'm like, hey,
right.
Continuing our conversation.
Right, and you forget.
Yeah, but I also realized that they would talk differently when they thought you were a manager.
Oh,
so Mike
nice.
was.
So you're like going undercover, kind of in a way.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, but so my voice is, hey, it's Matt Starr. How are you? Listen, but Mike is like every agent I had talked to at that point. Hey, Matt. So what's going on? Well, I got Joan Jett is looking for an opener. Is that something you guys would be interested in? Oh yeah, that'd be great. Okay, yeah. Why don't you send some stuff over and I'll get back to you. Okay, I got to take this call. I'll talk to you later. Bye. So I would take that kind of tone and you just get more stuff done because you weren't really trying to sell it. You were just like, yeah, I got this band. I think they'd be a good fit.
Wow.
And so I realized that difference, it's a different level.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Far out.
Mike Waters still getting it done.
Mike Waters. Is he still getting things done or is he retired?
No. Alex texted me like a week ago and he goes, I just.
Let me talk to Mike.
He did some deal and he goes, and I was Mike Waters. Still.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You realize you just blew it now. This is it.
It's over.
There's no Mike
it's
Water
for Mike.
Well,
he's got a brother Mark, so.
Oh, okay, and he's real.
Yeah,
of course, he's a real
Mark
person.
is real. Yeah.
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Mike Waters is getting things done. Alex is in the Flames.
Yeah, and then Alex said, I'm going to move to L.A. And I said, okay. And I knew I was going to either go to New York or L.A., but he left first. And
didn't you? Can we back up?
Yeah.
You did what many people did. You went to L.A. earlier
at like 21.
Okay.
And I didn't understand how to kind of do things. I didn't really
I still don't
get along with people. I mean, I wasn't
still don't.
not getting along, but I just had a different attitude. So I couldn't really figure it out. You know.
So you went out there like, I'm gonna make something. Did you go out with a band?
No, my Danny Formica.
Okay,
friend,
yeah,
great
Danny.
singer,
Yep.
and so he was out there already. So I went out there. I hung with him, and then
was Joe Dell. You guys all went. I had never went.
I think Joe was already there.
Yeah, another for Joetown. That's our friend.
Yeah, and he had been there for a while.
Okay,
from what I remember.
So Joe might have been the first out of the crew.
Either.
And then Danny.
Yeah, and so yeah, I did that year. Couldn't kind of figure it out. Came back here.
Okay.
And then just started doing bar gigs.
Didn't you? Ed Macenti teaches here. I interviewed him a few back. Yeah. He was out there. You had history with him. He's not here today, but
yeah. So Ed and Val had a band called Saddle Tramp, and Kenji Oto was the guitar player. Kenji now plays with Ravi Shankar's daughter.
Oh,
he's like the right to her left playing sitar, and
cool.
They gave me a cassette. They sent me a cassette. They said, "Hey, listen to this stuff," and it was.
Did you know Ed from back here or not at all?
No, no. So Val and Ed had a band. I don't know what it was called, but it was a glam thing, and it ended up being Sequin Rouge, which Danny ended up joining.
Oh wow!
But we went to John Stone, drummer, and my Mike Duda was a bass player. Mike plays with Wasp now.
Sure.
So they had photos. They had already done a photo shoot. They had a name. They had a logo.
Yeah.
They had like a couple demos, but it was so worked out.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, "Why?" And Val had been around. He was kind of a David Lee Roth type frontman, and so that was a real eye opener to me.
Right.
You know, of the organization that went on. When you went to see them play, you just thought they were crazy. But
did they have a Mike Waters?
I don't know who they had. Yeah, they may. Yeah. It might have been Val's girlfriend actually. That was was taking care of all that.
Michelle
stuff.
Waters.
Yes. And so, so that thing. So Ed sent this. So they sent me this cassette, and it had "Good Morning Little Schoolgirl," Johnny Winter live, "Humble Pie," "Free," "Grand Funk," "Nazareth," and I knew the names, but I didn't really know the music. And so that remains to. That's like my favorite era, which is like 71, 72. Coming out of the 60s, but getting into that bigger rock and roll sound.
Okay.
I love that stuff. And the guys can really play. The rhythm sections are all great, So yeah, we did that for as long as I was there, which was for about a year.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you came back, and then
I came back, and then I was here for a while, and and then fast forward, we get to the Flames, and then so Alex is out there. He was playing with this band called Ignite, which is a hardcore band. So they would, they would headline these festivals in Europe and stuff, and they did this side project. They had written a song, ended up in a video game. Oh. And so Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit's playing this game and hears this song and goes, "Who's this band? I got it." So he had his guy, Danny Wimmer, I think Wind Up Records, and they tracked.
Do you know I have to get off this. Do you know for a fact that Danny Wimmer was a real person?
Yes.
Or did you get...
No, I met him.
Because you got Flim Flam.
Yeah,
okay, go ahead.
He existed.
Right.
And so they called Brett and said, "Hey, is this a band?" And Alex was there on the phone with him. And Brett's like, Dan, and Alex goes, "Yes." Because Brett was like, "It's not really." Alex goes, "No, it's a band." Sure. Yeah, what do you need? And so they started working with Rick Rubin, and Alex called me and goes, "Look, there's a gig here. Like the drummer's probably not going to work out. You got it." So that got me out there. So I started playing with them and did that for probably about 6 months. And then I lived in Orange County and Costa Mesa, Huntington Beach, which was cool. It's a definite, like, I didn't think you could wear black socks. I thought the only person that wore black socks with shorts was my dad.
Oh,
but you had all these dudes with black socks, Vans, you know, the chinos that cut
Yeah.
off at the knee, black spiked hair, and
Sure.
wrap around the shades.
Huntington Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my introduction. We kept driving up to Hollywood every night
Mm-hmm.
and then driving back in a state that we should not have been driving back in. And so I said, you know, I think we should probably, you know, move to Hollywood so we don't have to drive so much. And so then we moved to Hollywood.
Wow.
Yeah.
You and Al, who, like a bunch of people?
Yeah. So I went out there with at the time, like my girlfriend, who we had kind of dated on and off for a few months. And then she's like, I'm going to stay for like a couple weeks and go back. I was like, all right, cool. And then a couple weeks would come up. I go, hey, I got a show at the Viper Room in another week. You should stay for another week. And she'd go, oh, okay.
Right. Next thing you know.
And then, you know, 18 years later, 2 kids. And
Whoa.
yeah, we're a family.
That happens.
It does.
Did you, at what point, I've never done that. At what point do you say, well, we're here? Or are you still like, oh, well, you know, I'm here until, like, do you ever feel like, is there like a point where you're like, okay, we now live in California? Or do you still feel like, well, I'm just here until this thing is over?
No, I was pretty clear that time that like I had done all I could do in Connecticut,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and my challenge was just finding guys that were as committed and as good, you know, because
Yeah,
there's
right.
a small pool of guys, and it's like
Sure.
I knew them all, you know. It's you and Joe and you know the guys I was playing with.
Right. Is it a bigger, more people, a bigger pool out there? I would
Yeah,
imagine, right?
Bigger pool,
And better.
more people. You know, not as much consistent talent as you would think, but that was fine because I knew how to do what I had to do.
Sure.
You know, but yeah, there's just a lot more people, and there's something about California. You know, it's all the best looking, most ambitious, most talented, most crazy, biggest dreamers. They leave their town wherever they grew up and they go to New York or they go to
Sure.
LA and they're there. So there's that energy. It's just anything's possible. And I've seen so many, you know, fairy tales, and there's all kinds of, you know, tragedy too, but just anything is possible. And that energy is
Yeah,
really,
right.
is really
Literally.
cool. Yeah.
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 Huh. Yeah, that's cool. Well, you know, I've only been there once. Came out to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool.
Yeah, it's got that, and which I think for some people might be, you know, either like kind of overwhelming or intimidating or just too much, you know. But I liked it. There were these 3 guys I would see. They were 3 brothers. They were from Europe somewhere. Long blonde hair, like halfway down their backs. They were twins. They all looked the same. They'd have their rocking jeans, and their hair was done up. And this was probably like 8 years ago, totally 80s. But they'd be walking the strip, and I just go, yeah, man, like live your dream.
Yeah, right. Doing it.
You know, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't spend enough. Now I have a workable relationship with New York City, but I used to feel that I used to be intimidated by New York City because it was just too much.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do you distinguish yourself at all? I didn't spend enough time in LA, but when I was there, I was just like, oh, this is like more like what I would recognize as home. Like New York City, it's such a different experience in what we're talking about, but just even architectural, it's just, it's so intense and so much going on.
Right.
I would get distracted by how different the living was.
Yeah.
I couldn't
figure
I don't
out
think
New
I could
York.
ever. Nah, it's not my thing. I don't think I could have made it there, as they say.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think it's true. Yeah, you make it there, you make it anywhere. Yeah, I think New York is like there's a deli and there's another door that's an apartment, and then that's the club.
Yeah.
You know, in LA you got the strip.
Right.
It's more spread out.
Right.
And it's kind of easier to identify. And it's more, to me, it was more of a welcoming vibe. Like I'm cool in New York now. I'm fine. But,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, me too, finally.
Yeah, but it definitely was like, it was just more welcoming. It seemed easier to navigate.
Yeah, I remember, like New York City, it costs you money to get there. It costs you money to be there. If you have to drive, which I often did, it just money to park, money. And then when I visited you, I went to the package store. You were like, yeah, go. There's a package store up, a few blocks up. And I drove and parked. They had a parking lot, and I parked there and went in.
Yeah.
I was just like, but this is Hollywood. like you're used to New York City. It's like you can't access anything
Right.
without cash. Like
Yeah.
you're not getting in there. And Hollywood, I was like, wow, I'm in Hollywood and I can just park my car here and nobody cares. It's like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, the two cities are very different. New York, you got to surrender your driver's license,
Right.
and get a messenger bag, and
Right.
hope you got it all there. That's how kick drums went from
Yeah, right.
26 to 20 because they couldn't fit them in a cab.
Right.
You know
exactly.
what I mean? So it's like that's a necessity.
You need a 26-inch cab.
Yeah,
Why didn't they do that?
they weren't making them then.
That's funny. Yeah. So you're out there, and
sang more. Still
Okay.
wanted to do that. Put a band together called the Automatic Music Explosion.
right.
Which I had this vision of like, there was a thread to me that was consistent through, Little Richard, Cheap Trick, Joan Jett, the Ramones, Kiss, Motley Crue had a touch of it. Even Nirvana had a touch of it. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And then when I discovered bubblegum, I had this band I was producing.
I see.
They were 20, Dead Legend from Connecticut. And they said, "You ever hear that song, Yummy, Yummy?" And I said, "No." And they played it and they thought it was funny. But I was like, this is awesome.
I see.
Just super repetitive, lots of hooks. And it was great. So I got into that, and the Archies and the Trogs were in that for me, even though they weren't bubblegum. But that whole thing in the Sweet, and the Knack had that thread too.
Yep.
So that was like this really inspiring thing. So I said, I want to do a modern version of that. I want to have a girl in the band.
Yeah, right.
And have just a cast of characters, real colorful, fun, loud.
Yeah.
Kind of that Kiss thing, but
Right.
a little more like high schoolish.
Yeah.
And so, we did that, and it came time. We had done a demo. I did that myself, and then we had we needed to do a record, and I thought, well, who are we going to get to produce this? And I was looking at all my records, and I knew Mike Chapman had produced, Get the Knack, Parallel Lines, The Sweet, and there were songs like for me, like Exile. I had a song called Kiss You All Over. I used to hear that on the radio.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know if he wrote that or was involved with it, but he wrote Hey Mickey, the Tony Basil song, right?
Right.
So,
Which is basically what you're trying to do. Hey Mickey, but a band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew
I forgot he produced that. That's awesome.
So Mike Chapman, the producer, and then the Sweet and Susie Quattro had these writers, Chin Chap.
Yep.
Right. And when I connected the dots that Chap was Chapman, and I go,
oh, you're like,
So the guy wrote Ballroom Blitz and produced My Sharona. I'm like, that's the guy.
You know what? Might be time for a podcast.
Yeah.
Or my little mixes I make.
Yeah.
Mike Chapman.
Yeah.
You're right. Right?
Yeah.
I never realized that.
Yeah. The legacy is
that thread.
huge.
That thread.
Yep.
So that ties Blondie together with the Sweet.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I started looking for him, but he hadn't worked in many years, and a lot of Googling. I knew facts about his family. I knew his wife's name. His wife had bought a horse. I knew all this stuff, all these public records and everything.
Sure.
Couldn't find the guy. When I finally figured it out, he was living in Easton, Connecticut, which is where my dad grew up.
Right. Right.
So
See, there we go.
Brings me back to Connecticut. So
yeah, I remember
that. My drummer who lived in LA goes, well, there was an issue of BAM, which was like the music mag out there.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And he did a photo shoot dressed up as General Patton. So Max got a copy of this. So I went to the Kinko's, photocopied, cut him out, and had it photocopied onto the envelope. So I sent him an envelope with a bunch of stars across the top and a little picture of him. I sent it to his address. A month later, I sent him another one.
Wow.
And then the third month, I came back here, and my grandmother was getting not sick, but my mom was like, you should come back.
Yeah, right.
So I was going to go visit my grandmother, and then she wasn't going to be back for a little while. And I thought, wait a second, Chapman's down. And I was so focused on seeing my grandma. I said, I'm like 10 minutes away from this guy's house. So I called my wife. I said, hey, what's the address in my computer? And so I thought, well, this will be cool because it's Southern Connecticut. So they're nice houses, but it's not like there's gates in front of them.
Okay. Yeah.
So I find the address. I drive up a driveway, and there's a gate. So
Oops.
I buzz the buzzer, and a woman says,
I'm the
"Hello."
dude that's sending the things.
Yeah. And I buzz the buzzer, and a woman says, "Hello." And I said, "Yeah, this is Matt Starr. I'm here to see Mike Chapman." She goes, there's a pause. She goes, "Who?" And I was like, "Oh." I said, "Matt Starr. I sent him a demo." And she goes, and then the gate just opened up.
Wow.
So I drive up the driveway, and his wife, Zan, comes out, and she goes, "Hey," she goes, "He's not here right now, but do you have some band? You know, he just gave me this thing to listen to last night. I think it was your band. It had a picture of him on the front." I go, yeah.
Timing.
She goes, "Yeah, that was cool." She goes, "He just took our son for his driving test. Can you come back in an hour?" I said, "Yup, I'll be back."
So he was checking it out.
Yeah.
I wonder if he would have. Did you ever ask him? Was he going to contact you?
I don't know. I never asked him, you know.
That's interesting.
But I contacted him.
So it was just the timing.
Timing. Yeah. So I went back, and we went down in studio. Just a super gracious, cool dude.
Pat Benatar.
Yep.
Also,
Yep.
right? He was involved with.
Yep. He put his band
Remember
together.
that.
He had asked Rick. He went to see Pat perform, and she was married to some guy. Last name is Benatar. She was like a
Okay.
And I forgot the record company guy, but he had sent Mike down and said, "Hey, check out this singer." And Mike goes, "You know, she's good, but I can't. This is like cabaret music,
Mm-hmm.
you know." And they said, "No, she's going to do a rock thing." And anyway, so Mike got asked to put the band together. So he reached out to Rick Derringer. He goes, "You know, I'm looking for a guitar player." And Rick's kind of, you know, was giving lessons, and his buddy was Neil Girardo.
Wow.
So that's how
crazy.
that all, and then Myron Grombacher, who's like, you know,
That's crazy.
one of the greatest ever.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah. So we had a chat, and we drank some tequila, which I'd had tequila before, and I didn't like it. This was like so good. It was the smoothest thing.
Mike Chapman level tequila.
Yeah, real good.
Not electric blue tequila. Like
No.
this is a different.
Yeah. And so he goes, "All right, well," he goes, "You know, this sounds really interesting." And he goes, "I want to come see you guys play." And like, I think, I don't know, 2 weeks later, he flew to LA, saw us play.
Wow.
And then flew us out there. We did a record. And that was like some of the greatest experience of my life.
Mm.
Again, on tape,
Yep.
played live.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Yep. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, you know, all that. And then, you know, you get to a point, and it's like, nah, it just didn't go anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so that's when I decided to go back to drumming. I'd gotten to a point where I just said, you know, I want to be successful, and I want to be working with people
Sure.
who are better than me, which, you know, someone like Chapman is clearly
Right.
But being around him, I realized there's so much to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I need to stop running everything. I want to get in something that's already someone else is running it.
Right.
Because I don't know how to do that. I know how to do what I can do.
Interesting.
But I can get a certain point, but then I can't get it past. It's happened to me 3 times. So
Oh, wow.
I said, "What's the best thing I do?" I go, "Well, I think it's drums."
Cool.
So we revisited that, and then, you know, just again playing bar gigs, realizing I didn't want to do bar gigs, and I found myself we'd started this band called Naugahyde because tribute bands were a thing.
Yep.
So we said, well, you know, there was a band called Metal Shop, which turned into Metal School, which turned into Steel Panther.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so and originally they were just doing covers and acting ridiculous and dressing like guys from the 80s. So he said, why don't we do like, you know, a Southern rock version of that?
Why not?
So we're doing Foghat, Molly Hatchet, Skinnerd, you know, Steve Miller, all this stuff.
And you're singing?
I'm singing,
Okay.
but now we're in costumes. We got mustaches.
Right.
I mean, it was a lot of fun. My name was Dallas, Texas. My brother was Houston, Texas.
That's funny.
Our bass player was Florida Lee, who was our cousin. And so 2 years in Vegas, we did really well. And I said, how did this happen again?
Oh, there you are
I'm
again.
pretending I'm somebody else. I'm doing covers.
And you got only so far.
Well, I mean, that could have kept going, but I'm making good money, but I don't want to be doing this. I want to be playing with the real guys. And so there was an event, there was a venue outside, and Quiet Riot and Dokken played out there. And afterwards, they came in and they jammed with us. And Frankie Manali played drums. I sang. We did Immigrant Song, and Sean McNabb from who's in Quiet Riot, but he's also in Dokken. He played bass, and I said, this, like I'm playing with the guys, the real guys.
Dudes.
And so that was a turning point. So then I left that and then just said, okay, what do I got to do? You know, how do I do this? And I realized I had no idea, which was a great place to be.
Because you don't have to undo anything in your mind. You're just starting fresh.
Yeah. And I didn't have any answers. So I started asking questions, which I don't think I honestly had ever done. You know, like if I was around somebody else, I would talk to them and not just talk about myself, but I wouldn't say, how did you do this? How did this happen?
I see.
You know? I don't think I was even curious, you know, which I think, look, in the beginning when you're young, that's fine. You're just focused on your thing and you're a freight train. But for me, I was 38, 39. I realized, you know, it's like, this isn't really working, man. You know, you kind of keep having.
So that's the shift, is just realizing that at that point that to get to the next thing, you had to be an apprentice again.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you think about it, because I think your experience is like mine, is we started off as apprentices playing with older people, right? That's kind of how you got your start.
Always the youngest guy in a band.
Yeah, me too.
Still, everything I've ever done, I've been Mr. Big, Ace, all those things. I'm the youngest guy.
Yeah. Well, then I guess what you're saying, then you kind of start over and remember what it was like to be starting out. Like you say, being the youngest or the one who knows the least.
Right.
That's a good position to be in.
Yeah, it wasn't comfortable for me, but when I had that shift, then I wanted to be that guy.
Gotcha.
So if I found myself in a room with guys like at my level, or I was like the most successful guy, I go, oh, you know, this is fine, but I want to get.
I want to be in the other room.
Yeah, I want to get around the guys. I found myself, you know, one point I found myself in a circle with Chad Smith from Chili Peppers and Kenny Aronoff from Everything, and Greg Bissonette and I can't remember who the other guy was. Oh, Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction. And I didn't know what to do with my hands. I was going, should I put him in my, I'm going to stand like this.
Yeah, right.
And I looked at Kenny and he had his hands in his pocket. So I go, all right, I'll do that. And I said, and now it was fine. We were all talking, but I was clearly aware of like, okay, I'm in a circle of guys. And the wealth of experience that they've had is just amazing, you know? How did that,
what room, what's that circumstance? That's heavy.
Yeah, that was an event. I think that was there's an artist named Beth Hart, who's an amazing singer, and kind of long story, but anyway, she was doing a couple songs at this event, and I rehearsed with her to get these songs together, but Chad Smith was going to play drums.
Oh,
so we did Changes, the Sabbath tune, and then we did one of her songs, and the day of, her manager, Dave, called me and said, how far are you from downtown? And I was like, I was about to leave with my wife. I go get my stick back. I go, I could be there in like 20 minutes. He goes, because Chad's stuck in traffic and Beth doesn't want to play with someone unless she's done sound checks. So basically kind of whoever gets here first. So I got an Uber and I just said, just drive as fast as you can, you know. And
I got to beat Chad Smith.
Right. And I got there and they were like halfway through the first verse.
Oh,
but you know, I was like, you know, hey,
they knew that you made the effort.
Matt came down. Yeah, oh, man, I'm so sorry. I go, look, it's fine. And me and Chad hung out all afternoon, and it was just a great experience, you know. And it was interesting because I of course I wanted to play, but I was there. I'm in the room. Like,
you're in the mix.
The fact that you're even considered, that's a step forward. You know, I do coaching, and a lot of times guys will, you know, try for something and then they go, yeah, I called the guy, but it didn't happen. I go, no. He called you back? That's good.
Yeah, right.
Because there's a time in your life when they wouldn't have called you back.
I got you.
You know?
So you got to think about it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. If you sent one thing to Chapman,
right,
you've been like, oh, well, I did that. It didn't work.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Yeah. It's just, with that thing, it's never assume anything. Because if I call somebody and they don't call back, you figure, you know, they don't want to talk to me.
I got you. Yep.
Maybe they're selling their house and they're just really focused on, like, just don't assume anything until someone says, hey, I got your thing. I'm not interested. Please don't call me. Until I hear that,
right,
I'm going to keep going.
Interesting.
But being polite and not sending 20 messages, but just consistently sending messages.
Well, isn't it funny though, because I think we're similar in this way. you being like a rock and roll expert of your, turf, you knew you weren't just looking for a producer. You knew Mike Chapman. You're like, this is going to be, he's going to enjoy, it's like you were bringing him something too.
Right.
As opposed to just like, oh, I need somebody. You're like, this could be a Mike Chapman production because you, like you said, you see the line, the succession, and you go, I could be here.
Yeah.
Because you know it, because you're familiar with him.
Yeah. I mean,
So you had something to offer, is what I'm saying. Rather than going to Mike Chapman and going, I need you're like, hey, that he would love to do this.
Yeah.
He'll get it right away. Which
Yeah.
He clearly did.
And he he thanked me a few times, like, you got me out of retirement, because he had lived in Los Angeles for many years, and then when he had kids, he realized I got to get out of LA. So they moved to Connecticut, and his son.
That's how I hooked up. We'll talk about Danny Cooch. The same thing. He came here to raise his kids, and that's when I got involved.
Right.
It happened. I guess Connecticut. I guess.
Yeah.
In a way, right? There is some sort of connection.
It's funny how I mean, that story just keeps circling back to Connecticut.
Yeah. Here we are.
Yeah.
And then. Exactly.
So a lot of coffee talks, a lot of hanging out with guys, sending messages. I made a list of the guys whose careers I liked, and most of them were in LA. So I would go to their drum clinics. I would go wherever I could find them, and waited in line to talk to them. And people were signing stuff, and I'd wait till the end of the line because I just didn't want to get a signature, take a picture.
Sure.
I'd wait till everyone was gone, and then I'd, hey, I want to talk to you. And and guys are really generous with their time. Kenny Aronoff was one of those guys. Jason Sutter was another guy. And, I had these almosts. Like, I started going in these jams. And this one jam, there was nobody there. It would be like 5 people. It was so dead that they one night said, hey, do you sing? And I go, yeah. Could you sing? I said, okay. So I sang some Zeppelin.
Yeah.
So, I just did anything.
Yeah.
And Sean McNabb, bass player, who was with Dokken at that time, he said, I go, what are you up to? And he goes, Gary Sharon from Extreme is going to do a run in Asia. So me and John Levin, who's in Dokken, and Mick Brown, who was a drummer, we're going to be his band. I said, oh, that's cool. And I went home, I told my wife, I said, that's like with one of the guys.
Yeah.
So next time I saw him, he goes, hey, remember that thing I told you about? I'm going, well, yeah, that's all I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
He goes, would you be interested in that? And I said, yeah. Why? He goes, I don't know if Mick's going to be able to do it. So we rehearsed at John's apartment, and it's extreme music, so it's pretty involved.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of rehearsals, and there was 2 promoters in South Korea that were promoting it. One was promoting it as extreme.
Oh.
So he's taken all these advances, and he ends up fleeing the country. It's like this national scandal.
Oh, wow.
So that gets canceled, but there's still this festival, this 4-day festival in China we're going to headline. And so, like a week before Gary's supposed to come to LA, there's massive flooding and it wipes out the entire grounds. So it's act of God, canceled. So then, okay, well, Gary, now that, Gary's kind of thinking about playing, he really wants to do a tour. So we're going to put together a U.S. run. I go, okay, great. Then Nuno was playing with Rihanna. He's off with her now. Extreme is getting back to work. Gary's not going to. So it was like, But again, I had to keep in mind, like, I'm in the mix.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
something.
It's an almost, but it's like,
right.
It's real.
Right. And you don't know who any of those people along that chain.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So that, and then I played drums with an artist, Jason Sutter. Got the gig with Marilyn Manson, and he was playing with this artist, Laura Wilde, and they were opening for Ted Nugent, and he said, I can't do this run. Can you do it? So I did that, and then shortly after that, I ended up finding out about Ace, and then got that gig, and that was my first one.
So talk about getting the Ace gig. What was that all about?
So Jason called me and goes, hey, listen, I just heard that Ace Frehley's drummer left. He goes, that'd be perfect for you, man. Like, that's, I know you're a Kiss fan. You'd be great. And I go, oh, okay. And I'm waiting for him to say, so I'll call it.
Yeah.
And then there's this huge pause. He goes, I mean, I can't call anyone, but you should find out. And I said, okay, cool. No worries. I know how to do this. I called everyone I had met at that jam, talked to a guy named Brent Woods, who's with Sebastian Bach now. And he said, I know Anthony, the bass player. And he goes, you'd be great. He goes, you'd be awesome for that gig. So I'm going to call him. And someone had given me Anthony's number, and now I would just call. But I said,
Yeah, right.
I was waiting for Brent. I said, well, I got the number. He goes, I'll find it, dude. I'll find it, and I'll text you back. So 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, every day I'm texting Brent. I don't want to bug him because I kind of don't really know him.
Yeah.
Finally, the third day, he goes, I got the number. I'm going to call him. And I just called Anthony. I said, hey, Brent's going to call you, or he did call you. But anyway, I just want, and yeah, we talked a little bit. And then 2 weeks later, I flew to New York.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And we rehearsed. We played Love Gun. I can't remember what else we did, but it was just me and Anthony and Todd Youth, who was a guitar player. So Ace wasn't there, but we went through a few songs.
Did you know? Of course, you knew every song, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I'd practiced all the live versions. So I knew kind of how they did it. But Todd was a very New York cat, so he walks in, goes, "Hey, I'm Todd." Plugs in, turns on Marshall on 10. And it was a house kid. It was at the Gibson showroom, so they had Slingerlands. So they were Slingerlands, which is cool, but they were small, and there was no mics on the drums. And I'm used to being really loud.
Yeah.
And it was actually in the old Hit Factory. So
wow.
So we're in a tracking room, but it's not like super loud. It's controlled because it's acoustically tuned. So I couldn't hear my drums. We played like 3 songs, and Todd goes, "All right, cool, I got to go. Nice meeting you, dude." And I remember thinking, all right, that's good. Because I know New York.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? And I just felt like he heard enough. This guy's fine. And he left. And then a couple weeks later, I got a call. I got the gig. And there you go. And they sent me the set list. I sent it to my buddy Jurgen, who plays bass with Government Mule, and he's a big Kiss fan. And I go, here's the set list. And he writes back, F you. Because
yeah, right.
Like, this is your job. It's ridiculous. It's
That's
just
crazy.
all Kiss and Ace songs.
Yeah, man.
So that was the start.
So
of that.
what was it like the first time meeting Ace? What was that? What was that day like?
We had 5 days of rehearsal scheduled. First day we just set up, hung around. Ace wasn't there. Second day we played through half of the set. Next day we played through the other half. Fourth and fifth day Ace shows up. So fourth day comes, we're sitting outside, and he's walking down the sidewalk like in one of the videos. It's just, he's got this walk, he's got a guitar case, and his guitar tech runs up to him, grabs the case, and he goes, "Hey, you must be the new drummer." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, good to meet you." We went in.
Imagine if he was Kiss Alive 2 Ace Frehley. Like, you look and
you smoke.
Everything. The whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, I think that's what I saw, actually.
That would be awesome.
And yeah, we went in there, and he's playing, and it's surreal because it's like, I know this guy's playing. I've been playing his records, but like, he's right there.
Yeah.
And he started playing God of Thunder, which we don't do. It's a Gene Simmons song. But I started playing drums, and when the verse came, he just kind of looked at me, so I started singing. And we went through about half of it, but I was just like, yeah, this is just a trip.
Wow. No one else in the band sings?
They did, yeah. They all.
But he just somehow knew
He just went sing, yeah. Because part of the gig was I had to sing all the Paul Stanley songs.
Oh, wow.
Which, again, going back to that jam that was so dead, they asked me to sing. Brent ended up seeing me sing. So, yeah, you just.
So in their minds, he's a singer too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I hear you.
And first day we did about half. And he goes, "All right, we're good." I remember thinking, like, I don't want him to say anything to me, right? Because if he has to stop, or I don't want to talk. You know what I mean? We got through one song. After the second song, he just gave me a thumbs up, and we did a few more songs. He goes, "All right, I'm gonna take off. I'll see you guys tomorrow." Next day we came in, we did a few more. We didn't do the whole set.
Wow.
And but I just said, he's played these songs a million times. He trusts me. He's like, this guy's fine. We're gonna be fine.
Right.
So first gig was New York City, Times Square.
Yep. I was there.
Yeah, you were
we
there.
all came down. Yep.
Best Buy Theater. I don't know what it's called. No Key Alive, I think it's called now. And Anton Fig was there, who David Letterman drummer, but had played on all Ace's records.
Yep.
And the day before, again, Todd with the New York attitude, they'd open up with a song called Rocket Ride, which is pretty straight ahead.
Yep.
I was like, cool. There's a song called Rip It Out, which is on Ace's solo record. It's got these crazy drum fills, Anton Fig. So he goes, we've been opening with that for a long time. We should open up with Rip It Out. You're cool with that, right, dude? Oof. And I knew he was just throwing. I said, yeah, sure. I'm like, oh, man. So,
God.
first night, New York, my parents are there, you're there, my parents' church is there, Anton Fig is standing on the side of the stage, and, away we go.
It's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you asked for it, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I remember the same things. We probably talked about this, but yeah, I was a Kiss fan too. When I was younger, I had I probably told you this story, but can you imagine this? So I had an uncle. He was in the record business out in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a local radio promo guy. So he would work for, a record label and then go to the DJs and do whatever he did. And I knew that he was in the business, but I didn't know much about record labels. And like you, I'm listening to Kiss. What's Casablanca mean? What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that's the record label that they're on, that's the company. And next time I see Uncle Jay, I go, hey, do you work for Casablanca? Trying to be cool. And he's like, why? What do you want? Kiss Records?
Right.
And I'm like, well, yeah. So what he used to do every, I don't know, couple times a year, the mailman would bring a box full of records and he would just get random promos.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them were garbage, but he would just whatever, put together a care package of records and send them to us. And that was our record collection. And he's, why? What do you want? Kiss Records? I go, yeah, okay, whatever. And then the next package that came, I opened it and it was all 4 solo Kiss records. Boom, 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 all in a row. He must have hooked up with a buddy and said, can you get these, can fall off the truck for my nephew and I'll give you these, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He made it happen. I opened that box and in one day I got all 4 of them. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
I don't have them now, but it had the poster.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone's a Kiss fan, but Kiss made 4 solo records and they had 1/4 of a poster in each record. So you had to have all 4 records to assemble the big poster.
Yep.
It's a big day.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. So Rip It Out, track 1, Ace Frehley. You're like,
right.
Ooh, okay. And wouldn't you say still, that's the best Kiss solo record, right?
Yeah.
I actually enjoy Jeans in some weird kind of way, but whatever.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No, I love Paul's record.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah.
But Ace's was really good. And I think because you'd only heard a couple songs from Ace before.
Right.
So I think, he surprised everybody with that.
Yep.
And I feel like he had something to prove,
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild. So then what? We're going long, dude. You have enough film up in there? Oh, okay. All right. Just making sure. Asking the boss.
So did some shows, and he said to me, you do any recording? I said, yeah. He goes, what kind of snare you got? I'm like, this dude's awesome. I said, I got a Black Beauty. He goes, Ludwig? I go, yeah. He goes, yeah, because I'm going to be working on a new record, and I thought, yeah, okay. So,
I wonder what the wrong answer would be. Snare drum.
Well, I won't.
You know what I mean?
I won't say I have friends at all the companies.
Oh, no. I just wonder in Ace's mind,
right.
like, what would you have said? We go, we're going to get someone else to do the record.
Right, yeah. I got this 1920s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or something.
Which would sound awesome, too.
You ever ask him someday, what would have been the wrong answer?
Right.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah. And so that was the beginning of recording together, and
That's cool.
We've done 4 records since then.
Wow.
And that was cool. And that was an interesting thing because he and I were just in there and there was no bass player.
Mm.
And I said, who's going to play bass? And he goes, I might play bass and, maybe get some other guys, whatever. But he goes, I always did my solo records like this.
Oh.
He goes, me and Anton would just
right,
play,
sure,
He just
sure.
like less things because he goes, when we do Kiss records, something would break. There would be a piece of gear. Somebody wouldn't have a good take.
Yep.
Or we'd have to do it 25 times. He goes, we would
guitar, drums.
Yeah, that's it. 2-3 takes.
Yeah, I think that's how Foo Fighters still do it too.
Yeah.
Dave and Taylor, they just get through it and then, all right, do your bass part.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. And so one of the funny things that happened in that session was, he's in the other room. I can sort of see him through the glass. But, we're talking to
Imagine you don't see him, then you look through the glass, and it's Kiss Alive 2, Ace Frehley in the studio.
Riser and everything.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
So we're talking, and he goes, all right, you ready, Pete? I go, Why? He goes, a P. He goes, no, Matt. Sorry. He goes, what P? What am I talking? All right. I go, yeah, cool. And so I'm like, I go, all right, 1, 2.
Wow.
He just called me Peter Criss. 1,
Whoa.
2, 1, 2, 3. Because most of the recording he's done was with a guy named Pete. There was nobody there named Pete, and I never heard him talk about a Pete ever. So
That's crazy.
yeah. So that
wow. Imagine that.
That was a trip.
Huh. Maybe he was talking about Pete Best. I don't know why he would be. That's stupid.
I don't know if anyone.
That's heavy. You ready, Pete?
Yeah.
You'd be like, yeah. Then you get all confused through your Mike Chapman thing. Are you? Yeah, I'm ready, Steve. Yeah. Let's go. Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy.
So that was the beginning of that, and then more jams. Got up on a jam. Guy said, "Hey," he knew I sang. He goes, "I'm kind of tired, buddy. Do you mind singing too?" I was like, "You lazy son." All right. So we did TNT, and I sang and played drums, and I got off stage, and Billy Sheehan was there. And Billy goes, "Hey, you sounded great." He goes, "Who are you?" And I said, Matt Starr, blah, blah. And he goes, "Yeah, you really nailed it. This was great. I want to get your number. I don't want to lose you."
Wow.
So
Gee whiz.
that was the beginning of that. And then I ran into him on the street with his wife, Elizabetta, about a month later, thinking like, I don't know if this guy's ever going to call me, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, Matt." He goes, "This is the guy I was telling you." She goes, "Oh, the drummer." Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, okay."
It's always the wives. That's what Chapman's wife too. Oh, you're the guy with
right. Yeah. So I was like, okay, he mentioned me. That's cool. And, fast forward a year later. So Pat Torpey was always the drummer for Mr. Big. And Pat so I didn't know anything. So Billy called me and said, "Hey, listen, we might need some help on this tour. Pat might not be able to do all the shows. Would you be interested?" I said, "Yeah, of course." So he goes, "Learn Addicted to That Rush and take cover." He goes, "And let's get together and me and you play." He goes, "I told the guys about you, but I want to hear you play Mr. Big stuff."
Okay.
I said, "All right."
Why Pat Torpey had health issues.
Right. So, but nobody knew that.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So I get in the room with him and he goes, I didn't really give you the full story.
Okay.
So our drummer, Pat, has been diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Oof.
So I hadn't met Pat before. And he goes, "So, we don't know how much he can play, but we need somebody to be there the whole, it's not a couple shows. It's like the whole tour. And we got to figure out who can play what." And it was, it was emotional for him. I'm hearing this. I hadn't met Pat yet, but just, fellow drummer and an amazing drummer. And then, Billy's, friend and partner in crime for all those years. And then he goes, "All right, so let's play." So again, it's like one of those things where it's like the emotion and the stuff, but then when it comes to time to play, you just gotta do the thing,
Yeah.
And we played Addicted to That Rush. He goes, "Great." He goes, "Let's do the other one." We did that. He goes, "Okay, great." And again, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to do it again.
Right.
I don't want to hear that was good, but if you can,
you
just great. And I'm sure I didn't play him perfectly, but like he heard what he needed to hear. And so it was probably about a month or more after that. He said, "Let's get in a room with the band." Mm-hmm. And so I got there early, and then Pat walked in, and he goes, "Hey, I'm Pat." And then we just hugged each other and we just started talking. He goes, "Yeah, I'm sure you know what's going on." And we talked a little bit, talked drums, and then the rest of the guys filed in. And Eric Martin, the singer, he came in, he had a shirt, had a bunch of Stormtrooper helmets with Kiss makeup, which
you're like, this is going to work out.
Yeah, which is like that. I mean, Eric has lots of shirts, but he wore that shirt, you know what I mean, that day. And that's Eric, yeah, a little support.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we played a few songs. I think the first one was Green Tinted 60s Mind. And it just, as soon as we started, it just sounded good. I could just go, this feels great. And we finished and it was like, down. And everyone was like, I'm like, uh-oh, I thought this sounded good. I'm like, what's going on? We did another song. Same thing. Billy looked over, he goes, "Great job." I'm thinking, Jesus, this is not.
Yeah, right.
Like, am these guys like so sophisticated that I'm missing something?
Yeah, right.
And then I realized, Pat's sitting here watching us rehearse. These guys are realizing that this is real. Like we're going to play with someone who's not Pat. and Pat's sitting there and Tim, their manager.
Right. So they're not going to go, oh my God, this is great.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it was a very somber, thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, it just like, I learned so much humility from that gig, but I knew even when he told me at that first run through, I'm like, I'm the right guy for this. You know, like drumming wise, I know I can do this, but just I'm the right person for this because I know I can handle this and be respectful,
right.
but also go out there and tear it up when I have to. And so that was just that whole experience was beyond a gig or
you're like in the family.
Yeah, and Pat and I became really good friends. We had a great time. Every day, I'd wake up, text him, Starbucks. He'd be like, "Yep, see you 5 minutes." We'd go down there, and it was great. I mean, we went around the world a few times, played Budokan, twice.
Yeah,
and
wow.
that was a whole other thing,
Gee whiz.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild. Did you record with them?
I did. We did a record in 2017 called "Defying Gravity."
Oh wow.
Yeah, and that was another experience that was cool because it was decided I was going to play all the drums. But I had Pat in the control, so I didn't hear any of the songs. So they'd maybe pass songs around, but I hadn't heard anything, which was fine. I'm used to that, with Ace. But so it goes like this, and then I'd be sitting there tapping on my legs, and I'd be doing some stuff. Pat be sitting next to me, and then I go, "Yeah, I'm thinking for this, that," and he go, "Yeah, maybe like a thing in here." And yeah, okay, cool. And I go out and play. So I'm playing, and you know what it feels like, but you got someone in the control room listening. So we would do a couple run throughs, and I'd come in and we'd listen, and then Pat would already have heard it twice. So he'd say, "That was really cool there. Maybe if you went to the ride on this part, that would be a nice change." And so we really like worked the parts out together.
So his voice was represented in a way.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope he would feel that way. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
So that was, and I thought this is a cool gig. I go, drum producer. Right? So
Imagine
that. So you go do a record and you can hire Jim Keltner to just sit in the control room and
go
give you feedback.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's heavy. Off the subject, I don't know what reminded me of this, but talking about being in the studio, pressure, weird situations. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but this is funny. The Meters.
Yeah.
New Orleans funk pretty much invented it back in the day. And Vic Steffens down in West Haven, he calls me one day. He's like, "Hey, can you play Sissy Strut by the Meters?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's like a funk standard that we all."
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, can you be here, tomorrow morning at 9 or whatever and play Sissy Strut for a recording?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so." And he's like, "With Leo, the guitar player of the Meters, is going to be here." And he's making an instructional video, and we need someone to play drums. We need to lay the tracks down. So I'm just like, "Yeah, sure." I'm just thinking, right away, I'm like, I don't know. I'm a dude from Wallingford. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, I don't know if I could throw down with the Meters guy. And so I get there and I meet him and everything's cool. I go out into the studio, and the way, I don't know if he did this on purpose, but the way Vic has the drums set up is my back is to the glass. So I'm like, they're behind the glass.
Yeah.
Leo's in the booth playing. I think he might have played bass first or guitar. But anyway, we're like, run it down. So like I'm playing, not getting any reaction. Like you're just thinking, at least if I could see,
right, I
could realize if I'm on the right track or not at all. I'm just like trying my best to play, just imagining what's going on behind me. We're playing, and I'm just trying to, running through a few things, and we're done. And then that's the thing in the studio, no talk back.
Right.
So you just get done, and there's nothing. And I don't want to be like, to turn around. I'm just like sitting there like, I wonder. And then, Vic, just after a minute, "Sounds great. Come on in." And you're just like, I don't even know and it turns out he liked my playing, but I just talk about nerve wracking. It's just like, I can't even see him. So I can't even if it was even a bad reaction, I would change what I was doing.
Right.
I'm just like, I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh,
God, that's so nerve-wracking.
That silence in the studio.
Yeah, worst.
When I'm producing bands, it's like they finish, I go, "That was great. That was great."
Yeah, because you remember what that feels like. You
second.
Get on the talk back right away.
Give me a second, Or if there is a problem, go, that was great. Hang on a second. We got a thing with the computer. Yeah. Do you like what he's doing on that pattern? I don't know if that's working. Okay, let's figure it out. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I got an idea, but yeah, because you imagine in that silence, hey man, you know any other drummers?
Yeah. What's up with that dude?
Yeah. Where'd you get this guy?
Oh God. No, it ended up being okay. I mean, I left and then, hey man, cool. And then Vic called me and he goes, you did a great job. He loved you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, but you're just thinking with no without even seeing, you're just like expecting the worst.
Yeah, of course.
I could feel the heat on the back of my neck. I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's all the stuff you gotta, that's the professional musician thing. Like anyone could have a good night. But to have a really good night every night, and then sometimes you have a spectacular night, that's a whole other thing. And it's not, we know how to play the drums or play guitar or sing or whatever, but it's like, can you do with the travel and you got no time and you just had a fight with your girlfriend and a thing and you're hungry and then someone is fighting with someone in the band and then, blah, blah, blah. And you got to go out and deliver. And it's a whole other thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. I got my moments. I don't know if I would have functioned at that level, to be 100% honest with you. I don't know. How do you put it? I would have cracked under that kind of pressure, I think. I need to be fed in a timely manner, I guess.
Right,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
Fair enough.
No, that's rough, man. I hear you. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's why you get the calls, You got to be able to do that stuff. It's heavy.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest part. I mean, I don't want to downplay any abilities, but it's, I think that's
right. A lot of people
thing.
Can play.
Yeah.
I hear you. And so, what are you up to lately? What's the story now?
So lately, we haven't done any traveling in the last year, so we've been here back east, and which is nice, having time with the family. I mean, everyone I talk to is like, dude, I haven't been home this much in my life, and which is great. I mean, I have 2 kids. Yep. I like my wife, so it's cool being
I like
home.
your wife.
Yeah. I like yours too. Yeah.
Good kid.
Yeah. So, so that's been cool. I've been able to do, a lot of session work, which is great. I feel like everybody is either like,
we should get Tracy up in here. Actually, I'm compiling the list in my head.
Yeah,
Mr. Tracy Walton has a studio.
Yeah, On Deck's Sound Studios, where I do all my drums.
Yep.
And that's been great. And everything is, for me, a lot of stuff has been remote for like the last 5 years.
Right.
So
you're already set up.
Yeah, I know the logistics and how to do like the consultation and make the artists feel like they're connected because you're in 2 different places. And so that's been good. I feel like everybody's either like, I'm going to put an addition on my kitchen or I'm going to do a record.
Right. Now's the time.
Yeah.
Yep. I hear you.
So doing that and producing a couple bands in New York, guys that I was actually talking about doing remotely, but now we can do it in person. So that's cool. That's been good.
Right.
And then doing my coaching work, which has kind of always been remote.
Okay. You want to talk about that?
Well, that kind of got born out of, like what I said about my kind of long trajectory of having like the fundamental elements, but not having it come together. And I just saw so many guys that were going through the same thing, and doing clinics. Most of the questions were like, how did you get the gig with so-and-so? And I felt like they weren't looking for a story. They were actually asking, how can I get a gig like that?
Gotcha.
And I said, you know what? I can talk drums and I love drums and all that, but I think like the most valuable thing I can share is this stuff that they clearly don't know.
Gotcha.
And then that just kind of turned into, rather than lessons, just doing coaching. And then that's branched out beyond musicians and just to, anyone who's, really looking to essentially getting your mind and your emotions in line with your goals and seeing what that gap is and closing that gap.
That's interesting. And you say probably not a lot of people in the business, they just go where. So would you say it's got to be one or the other, right? Extremes. It's like some people are just at the mercy of whatever and they end up where they end up, or they're focused.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. And look, I've met plenty of people who are successful and they're crazy, and I look at that person, I go, but he's doing some stuff right. What is he doing right? 'Cause there's a common thread between all these guys, And you meet all kinds of different personalities. Some seem easy to get along with. Others seem like they'd kind of be a handful, but they manage to have careers. And so, like, what's that common thread? I did a lot of that first year when I was just meeting with as many people as I could.
You figured it out.
Asking a lot of questions, yeah.
That's cool. Wow. All right. Do you have any plans, concrete plans to go back to LA or just whatever? You don't know. Because you can work remotely now.
I can work remotely. There's talk of some tour dates in the fall.
Because didn't you move, sorry to interrupt, but before this happened, you started to move. You moved out of, you were like, I don't need to work Hollywood. I don't need to work. I don't need to pound the pavement in Hollywood anymore to get gigs.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, you could live where you want and still kind of keep your career going.
Yeah, I didn't want my kids to have to step over homeless people when we were going for a walk to the park was more the motivation. But
sure.
And then there was that concern, like, if I'm not in Hollywood, is that going to make a difference? But it
got to the point where
it was fine. Yeah, and we moved up to a town called Oak Park, which is about 30 minutes north.
Okay.
But great schools.
Yep.
You could drink the water out of the tap. I mean, it was it's like Connecticut. It was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we
cool.
did that, and then we moved back in September.
Yep.
And
don't drink the water out of the tap here, dude.
Yeah, we got the Brita back out. But we'll figure it out. It's just a matter of like when the timing's right.
Yeah.
But we'll see with work. I mean, look, if I get something where I'm like gone a certain amount and I'm like, that's good for the year, I'm cool. I mean, flying out of Bradley is a lot easier than LAX.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I can imagine so. I think we're gonna have to do this again because we went long and we didn't get to any good stuff.
But isn't that how all our conversations go?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think we're kind of we're long. I don't want to run out. So, can you do this again?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's figure out how to do this again. He'll give me a key. We'll come back at 3 a.m. We'll do part 2 later.
Go to Burger King.
Yeah, whatever. We'll figure it out. But you know what we should, can you move this up to Bowl-O-Rama? You ever go to Bowl-O-Rama up on the Pike? Because that's where we used to meet. When me and Matt were doing gigs together.
Yeah.
We talk about the set list for the weekend. Bowl-O-Rama is a bowling alley. I guess it was 24 hours.
It's still there.
And it was a halfway kind of point. He'd be like, "You want to meet me at Bowl-O-Rama around midnight? We'll talk about the set." Oh, okay. We'd be the only ones there.
Yeah.
We'd go up, roll a few, talk about, I don't know, what do you think we should open with? I don't know.
Yeah. Spend $10 playing all the ACDs on the jukebox. Yep.
Funny. All right. We got to do this again because I didn't get to ask any. Now we know who you are.
I don't.
Well, we'll play it back and you'll find out.
Cliff notes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So let's do this again.
Yeah, let's.
Sooner, later, whatever. But we got to get into it.
Yeah.
And all right. So you know what? Let's leave it at that for now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. To be continued, part 2. This is Matt Starr, ladies and gentlemen. From Rocky Hill, originally.
06067.
There you go. All right. I'm Jon Peckman. This was the Jon Peckman Podcast. Coming to you from Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance in Portland, Connecticut, just over the bridge. You look left. We will see you again next time. Thanks a lot. Look for us on YouTube, right? Possibly. Okay. I'll see you. Adios. Bye.